I appreciate you being there. It's so nice to have you.
Gotta keep everybody.
My boss just wants me to hang out longer.
I just gambled the meeting. There's nobody here. No, I
Well, that or you here. Those are your two options. Right.
Because we had that policy. And that isn't it's a 16, it's a 12. It's still that big, right?
back up meeting. Normally we would have Kingwood High School Junior ROTC here tonight. They're right down front. They look really good. Tell Craig Kramer, Ted Landry, we missed them. I don't know where they're at, but we're going to open up tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance and then the Texas Pledge, and then we'll Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Please stay standing for a moment of silence, please. Thank you very much. Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight. I'd like to make a special welcome and hello to our Harris County Tax Assessor Collector, former board member, Mr. Mike Sullivan. Thank you for being here, Mike. Good to have you here. I'd also like to welcome our camera. It's over in the corner. This is the very first board meeting that is being televised, thanks to Rick Rocker and Texan Live. So we're happy to have you there as well. It's kind of a 6-month pilot project to see how this works. I told my daughters this morning as I was taking them to school that this was going to be televised, and they said, please do not say anything that embarrasses us. It's not my strong suit, so I may not have to fulfill that. We'll see how it goes. But thank you, Tel Burke. We appreciate him very much for his service. All right, let's see. Dr. Sconzo, commendations and recognitions.
Mr. President, trustees, we do have commendations tonight, but before I ask Ms. Jamie now to come to the podium to present tonight's commendations, we'll first start with our inspiring moment, which really highlights our AVID program, but spotlights something that we're just really very, very proud of, and that is Timberwood Middle School this year earning the status of being a national demonstration AVID school. Less than 2% of the schools in our country who have AVID get designated as national demonstration schools, places where literally educators from all over the country come to visit to learn how to put AVID in place well. I will tell you too that Timberwood is only the second school in the Greater Houston region to earn national demonstration site status. So we're very, very proud of Timberwood. They've worked very hard to earn this recognition, and we're thrilled to share that with you as our inspiring moment tonight. So Yvonne, if you would please run the video.
AVID stands for Advancement via Individual Determination, and it is a college readiness system that spans from kindergarten all the way through higher education, so basically K through 16.
Teachers identify students that have the potential to really take honors graded classes, but they may not have the skill set. So we put them in AVID collective classes, and we develop those skill sets.
They came to my elementary school and they were showing me videos and all these kids doing what AVID does in our daily life. I was like, I really want to do this.
My sister, she was already in AVID for 3 years, and when I was coming here, she was telling me a lot about how they do in college and how they have tutors and things like that, and I was like, okay, I really need this, you know.
So each stage is very different. In the elementary schools, AVID is school-wide. Every 5th grader, every 4th grader receives these AVID student success skills. In the middle school and high school, we do have the AVID elective class. And the class is designed for students that are academically in the middle, but that have a desire to go to a four-year university. At the high school level, they start in 9th and 10th grade, definitely focused on preparing for the academic rigor. They continue on with that. And we're going to memorization and note-taking and just those great student success skills. But they also focus on the SAT practice, SAT, ACT practice.
The weekend habit consists of 2 days of college tutorials, and this is what you're seeing right now. Students are receiving help from the college tutors. They come in with a pre-work of something that they don't understand, and then they learn from each other to clarify the problem. And then the other 2 days, we work on reading strategies, we work on organization, learn about different universities.
They are living the life that they can dream of right now, so to have that relationship with someone who is there going through the process and they have the ability to answer questions or whatever they need.
It helps a lot because I'm around it, not just academic wise, but as a person, like getting to know everybody around me, getting to know I have a family is really amazing. And I think going with the knowledge I have now, going into high school, I will be able to experience and learn more.
One of the main things, leadership and teamwork. I did have some leadership and now I'm so much better at it. And teamwork, I wasn't too much into it. I was more of like trying to be on the top always. But now I'm working with the team too as well.
You know, Nicholas, in many things that he's comfortable with, he already has a lot of confidence. But in the things that he's not already confident in, he's bad, he just kind of blends in with the crowd. So I was a bit worried that, you know, leadership skills are pretty important in life. So I think that what I see from Abbott is once he gets it, and he's like one step ahead.
Just over the years of just Abbott and training and listening to the college kids that come back and help out, it's just made her excited about it. It's like, I can do this.
Growing with these kids and seeing these kids grow. They come in sixth grade and they're about this high, and then they not only mature physically, behaviorally, socially, and they just become better adults.
Our students can know what their goals are and just start setting goals earlier on. When I was in middle school, certainly didn't realize that in high school, realized to take it serious and start preparing and taking those pre-AP classes.
Mr. Buck has done here is he has taken Abbott and he has expanded it to the whole school. So the entire TMS population gets exposed to planning skills, gets exposed to agendas, gets exposed to all of the stuff that they're learning. When you have an entire school system doing it, then that is when the city of Humboldt is going to start to see a difference. And to me, that is the difference between what I think normal Abbott is and what I see here at TMS. So, you know, hats off to you.
Really an extraordinary achievement. I want to recognize many of the people you saw in the video, fortunately are here this evening. And when I call your name to introduce you, if you would please stay standing until I've acknowledged everyone, and then we'll take the chance to thank all of you for not only the outstanding recognition you have brought to Timberwood, but to our entire school district and community as well. So I'm going to start with our district Avid coordinator, Sally Wagner. The principal of Timberwood Middle, Ken Buck. Timberwood's Avid coordinator, Renee Herbstl. Avid teacher at Timberwood, Carrie Coulter. 7th grade Avid student, Charity Riley. Charity, I think you have your mom, Jamie, with you. 7th grade Avid student, Sophia Somoza. And Sophia has, I believe, her mom with her, Maria. Last, certainly not least, Christian Broussard, 8th grade Avid student at Timberwood, and his mom, Charlene. Thank you so much. while this could never top that, we are very thrilled tonight, and thank you, Jamie, right on cue, moving to the podium, to present for commendations our super staffers of the month. So, Mr. Engelhardt, if you would please join me up front.
Each month, campuses and departments select an individual to be honored as super staffer for their outstanding work in advancing student achievement. A drawing is held and 3 honorees receive additional recognition at the school board meeting, including a $200 gift card to Papa's Restaurants thanks to an award sponsor. We are very appreciative of the sponsor for April's awards, Dr. Holly McIver of Kingwood Orthodontics. So I'm going to ask Dr. McIver to come forward and help present the awards. Dr. McIver is a product of Humble ISD herself. She attended Hidden Hollow Elementary School, Creekwood Middle School, and Kingwood High School, and now has recently built a new building for her practice right next to Riverwood Middle School. So we very much appreciate you
And
sponsoring.
she's my daughter's doctor, and she has a lot of my money. If you need a loan, just grab her on the way out. And she's a wonderful woman.
Thank y'all for all that you do. That video was awesome.
So being honored as the elementary super staffer tonight is Sandy Wagner of Shadow Forest Elementary School, who is being joined by her principal, Lisa Lackey. Ms. Wagner is the school secretary. Those who nominated her say, Sandy does an amazing job of juggling many different roles. She not only helps coordinate the day-to-day operations of the school, but she also attends to the many immediate needs that arise on a daily basis. Sandy has an unmatched ability to carefully listen, assess situations, and problem solve to find reasonable and logical solutions. Whenever and whatever is needed, we can all count on Sandy. Congratulations. Being honored as a secondary super staffer tonight is Cindy Welch of Atascocita High School, who is joined by her principal, Bill Daniels. Ms. Welch is a forensic science teacher at Atascocita High School. For those who nominated her say, Cindy is an innovator. She works tirelessly to create and implement lessons that engage and involve her students in authentic learning. In her forensic science class, she provides students with daily opportunities to apply what they are learning to real-life situations and problems through hands-on learning experiences. Her students love her and her forensic science course. Congratulations. And being honored as a super staffer for administration and support is Melissa Parker of the Transportation Department, who is being joined by Transportation Department Assistant Director Jeffrey Brown. Ms. Parker is a special needs router for transportation. Those who nominated her say, Melissa is tireless in her efforts to make sure each child requiring special transportation is routed quickly, safely, and appropriately. She remains cool and calm through the most stressful times and has an amazing, positive, and pleasant attitude. Melissa has been with the district for 16 years, loves her job, and has proven herself an invaluable asset to the Transportation Department. Congratulations.
Dr. MacGyver reminded me of my pledge not to say anything embarrassing, so I take all that back. She's playing monthly. She doesn't have all the cash right now. All right, so we are going to talk about, let's see, comments by patrons or employees of the district regarding agenda items or any matters. I don't see any, none tonight. Okay. Comments by individual board members is next. We're going to start to my right. Ms. Conner.
Congratulations to our super staffers and those that are recognized on the campus level as well. I do want to commend those that are involved with the AVID program, not just at TMS, but district-wide, and all the teachers that are involved in that daily. So we thank you for that. I know I've worked with several AVID teachers and students. When I was in LIC, and I was always impressed by the level of questioning and just their sense of direction and knowing that they wanted to be college and career ready as they left here. So thank you for that, and thank you, Mr. Bush, for also recognizing that need on your campus and taking it to be a campus-wide initiative. So, we did have the fortune to hear in person creativity expert Sir Ken Robinson recently, and he reminded us that our school systems are industrial roots are the reasons why the schools are more interested in conformity versus creativity. And he said that instead of a factory metaphor, that a better metaphor to embrace would be farming. And he said in agriculture, you don't make plants grow, you create conditions for growth. Plants grow themselves. So because farming focuses on the soil and manufacturing focuses on the yield. So standardization is more about that yield and competition. And our children will flourish if the conditions are right. And if they feel loved, and if teachers are empowered and encouraged to learn, then we will have those conditions for growth. So in our role as board members, I want us to remember that, and our essential role is to create those right conditions. So reminding us all that in all the decisions that we make and the policies that we set, that we are asking ourselves, are we focusing on the yield, or are we focusing on the soil?
Like Mr. Sitton.
Yeah, that was a great speech that he gave too. So, Mr. Buck, want to say thank you. You're doing a great job. Ms. Wagner, in your new role and your leadership is awesome, and the entire curriculum team. My son happens to be an AVID student as well, so I see it on a different campus and the work that's happening with that program. So congratulations on your new accomplishment. And all the super staffers, those that are still here, congratulations. I got a call from a school nurse. We don't think when this first started, we weren't sure how it was going to be received. And so I had a school nurse call me and say, "You won't believe it. I didn't make it to the big award deal, but I was a super staffer for our campus, and I'm a nurse, you know." So she was just all excited that even a nurse would be recognized on the campus. And lastly, for those of you that were able to make it Friday night to the Foundation Gala, had a great time. And I know Mr. Rushing will probably speak more to this a little bit later, but great time was had. A lot of money was raised for the foundation, and the money that they raised, remember, goes right directly back into the classroom. So great job to the community development folks. My wife is the chair of that event, and I told her I wouldn't say it, but I'm going to anyway. I thought that her and her group did a great job, and thank you for all of you that came and enjoyed. So that's all I've got.
Mr. Lopez.
I don't have any comments this morning, Mr. President. Thank you.
Mr. Scarfield.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just real quick, hats off to Ms. Wagner and Mr. Buck and all the staff involved with his campus or other campuses. That was fun to be there that day. Thanks for her inviting us. It's pretty awesome to see that award given out. Also wanted to say thank you to Dr. Landry, Ms. Kozak, Ms. Davison, Mr. Hogan, and many other on their staff here at Kingwood High School for the recent Shattered Dreams presentation that they completed, and the students over yesterday and today are viewing. I don't know if you are familiar with it, many are, but that's probably the fourth time I've sat through it. I was telling Dr. Sconzo earlier, and it's no easier watching it because it's very impactful, and it's a great thing for our students to be exposed to in terms of the perils involved, the bad decisions, particularly with drinking and driving, all that can happen from that. So hats off to them for all the efforts in producing that. And the kids did, it the video part was all produced by our students. And when you watch it, I think you'll see the high quality of it. And the parent acting, I gotta tell you too, was right up there. They were great. So hats off to all of them for putting all that time in. And also just a tip of the hat too to Harris County Municipal Utility District 290 and 106 for the funds that they are providing for that was the track that's getting bad in school. That's really great. We have community partners like that. So it's nice to see. That's all I have.
Mr. Garfield, thank you. Mr. Cunningham.
No comments, Mr. President.
Mr. Rush.
Yes, sir. Just three quick things. The first is I'm still impressed by what Ms. Conrad said. Well, very well said. The second is I tried to actually go to TexanLive.com to see if my full head of hair was causing me glare on the camera. And we're actually blocked from doing so. So that's probably a good thing in terms of not being able to go watch yourselves right now. But the third thing is, the National School Board Association conference that we got to attend. I just wanted to share a brief takeaway from my standpoint in attending several sessions. The first thing was we're actually doing some things quite well compared to some of the presenters that I heard. So I took that away as a very, very strong positive that folks that were getting recognized nationally by their work. In some cases, I think we're well past even where they are and doing some things really, really cool here at Humble ISD. The second is, though, some real opportunities. And so I took a lot of notes, and two of the sessions in particular that I was able to attend, look forward to working with this team of 8 in here to talk about those ideas and work collaboratively to understand how we can't just continue to push ourselves further as a district. So it was well worth the time and effort spent getting there and spending some time learning a little bit. So thank you.
I didn't have any comments, but I do now. Just for clarity, it is not live, even though it says Texan Live, and it's going to be on Tuesday, am I right? It's live?
Outside of the district.
Blocking it for people who are on network computers, that the public can see it live.
Wonderful. I thought it was going to be shown on Thursday.
But not on television, it's on television.
Go online.
Stream.
That means they send it over the internet.
Computer.
Or your phone.
I'll ask my daughter. Yes, I do. All right, well, I was going to clarify that, and I certainly mucked that up. So.
Clarification to you, Mr. President. I won't be on my iPhone during this meeting.
That's right. All right, good. Wonderful. Dr. Sconzo, any comments? Yeah, I do right now.
Just one, Mr. President, I had reported at our last regular board meeting with respect to the school finance litigation that Judge Dietz would be issuing his report in the middle of April. As I informed the board and want everyone to know, the judge has since met with all of the plaintiff and attorneys in the Attorney General's office. He will not be rendering his written decision likely until the end of May, could be as late as the 1st of June. Interesting factoid in that regard, other than since the trial, the judge's docket has filled up again, so that's causing to limit the time he has to devote to writing the decision in the school finance case. But the other really I found fascinating factor that's affecting the length of time it's taking to write the decision is when you consider all of the documentation at trial, all of the evidence, all of the items put into evidence, all of that documentation for this case is close to 1 million pages. I can't even fathom trying to synthesize and summarize that volume of evidence, but that's what the judge is doing. So we're eagerly awaiting, and hopefully no later than the beginning of June will we and the rest of the state will receive his written decision.
Thank you, sir. Now we're going to move into items in closed session. Mr. Lopez.
Yes, Mr. President. As to the DGBA Level 3 appeal of the Alfred Carver, I move to uphold the administrative decision provided at Level 2.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? None. All in favor? Right hand. And opposed? And you abstain. Thank you.
Mr. President, as to the personnel recommendations, I move the board approve the personnel recommendations with addendum.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Rushing. All in favor? Right hand.
Mr. President, as to the minutes, I move the board approve the minutes for the regularly scheduled board meeting that was held on March 18, 2014.
Moved and seconded. Ms. Conrad. All in favor? Right hand.
Mr. President, I move the board approve the minutes from the special meeting and workshop held on March 25th, 2014.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Mr. Sitton. All in favor? Right hand. Okay. Thank you very much. We will now go into our Board Associations Committee updates. Our first update will be from the Audit Committee. Mr. Cunningham, what can you tell us?
Audit committee will be having a meeting sometime next week, Mr. President. No report.
Okay. Board and Superintendent Evaluation Process and Goals Committee, Mr. Lopez.
We do not have a report at this time, but we would start setting up some meetings.
Building and Planning Committee is that's my committee. Synergistics gave us a nice 45-minute report on ways we could decrease electric usage. Mr. Rush and I attended that, Dr. Sconzo and a few others. Nothing more to add at this point on that. We'll be discussing whether or not we're going to use them or not. Our next meeting of the full committee will be next Thursday morning, 8 o'clock. Finance Committee, Mr. Starfelt.
Only to report that our next budget workshop is set for
April 29th.
We will have a finance committee prior to that.
Good.
Workshop and asked Mr. Gardner did get all the information to you folks in terms of personnel slides, questions that we asked for some of the information. Ms. Lynn, our folks are working vigorously to get other information available to you. There were some updates and some other information that was asked for. So hopefully you will have that ample time to be able to read through it, digest it, so that you come with questions or ahead of time, obviously, Dr. Sconzo as well. So I know those guys are fussing and gunning to have that information.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Cunningham, again, Legislative Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee will be getting together along with Dr. Sconzo. We've got resolutions and position papers that are going to be up and coming with those advocacy, Dr. Sconzo. So, and we'll be emailing those on the committee along with Dr. Sconzo any of our concerns on that work that's coming up.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Lopez, Advertising and Marketing Committee.
Apparently folks are calling for an advertising marketing committee meeting to occur. I'm not sure I agree. We'll get with Dr. Sconzo about this, and we'll see where we go from there.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sitton, Program Evaluation Committee.
Yes, our committee, Mr. Starfield, Mr. Lopez, and myself met with Dr. Price and Ms. Atwood, and one of the auditors that we've used for some of our audits, specifically for the RTI, Response to Intervention. We hope to be able to give you that report very soon, along with a follow-up from that, plan of action going forward. But once you get that report, read through it, you're going to have some questions, and it may be a parking lot item at the end of the meeting for a future workshop, future business.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Rushing, Education Foundation.
Yes, sir. Just to touch on what Mr. Sinton referenced, the Education Foundation Gala that happened on Friday. What an event. Hopefully most of you were able to make it. You just never know what you might see when you get there. Some of our colleagues up here were dressed up rather nice, and I was not one of them, so don't anything you heard is not true, I promise. No pictures whatsoever taken. But what an event. I mean, you get to the Elmo Civic Center, and when you think last year was good, you get there and just the amazing setup, the work, the dedication that the Gala Committee, chaired by Jen Sinton, Patty Williamson, and the work that the Gala Committee puts together to pull that off, the decorations, the theme, the work that it takes to set up the area is just tremendous, as well as to get all the sponsors and community to support the event, which ultimately just benefits our faculty and students here. Just tremendous. Also some mixed emotions, as many of you know. Jerry Monbaran, believe it or not, made it to the event. I don't see her here today, which is a good thing. I hope she's resting. But we were able to sort of welcome her back at that event, which is her baby, and that was fantastic to see her there and recovering well. And then it was sort of a send-off for Catherine. So, it was her last big hurrah as a member of the team, and she'll certainly be missed from the foundation or Education Foundation perspective. And we'll look forward just to keep things rolling. But a fantastic event. Thanks for all the support.
Thank you, sir. All right, now we're going to jump into the consent agenda. No, we're not. No, we're not. We're going to stop at our most important committee. Ms. Conrad, Kingwood Super Neighborhood Council.
Kingwood Super Neighborhood Council met mid-March, as we well know on spring break. Have not received the minutes from that yet or the agenda for next week's meeting, but we are meeting on the Wednesday next week, which is I believe the 16th. Not sure who the guest speaker is. It was Future Metro. Anyone's full report. Feel free to send me an email.
Thank you very much. Now we'll jump to the consent agenda. For those of you who are new to this and people in television land, the consent agenda, we have 15 different items to discuss this evening. We've received a large packet, or actually, once we printed it off, it was a large packet of items regarding each one of these. Right now, we're going to go through each one and determine which trustees have questions. Those that don't have further questions, we will approve them by consent. So, Mr. Lopez, if you could help me out, please. Under learning considerations and purchases, instructional material allotment and TEKS certification. That one is a consent. Under governance considerations, item A, interlocal agreement for contributions for the purchase and installation of track. Consent. Item B, proposed revisions to policy DBA local. Consent. Item C, expedited waiver for modified schedule for state assessment testing days. Also consent.
That's what they wanted.
Item D, expedited waiver for teacher data portal of the Texas Assessment Management System. Item E, early release and late arrival waiver. Consent. Item F, reading English language arts staff development waiver. Consent. Under G, foreign exchange waiver. On H, exception to class size limits waiver for Spanish immersion. Consent. Item I, district and campus improvement. The H, yes. All right, we're going to be pulling exception to class size limits waiver for Spanish immersion. Okay. Item I, district and campus improvement plan goals and objectives for 2014-15. Pulled by Mr. Financial services considerations and purchases. Item A, tax refunds. Consent. Item B, waiver of P&I. Consent. Budgetary amendments. consent. Under support services, considerations and purchases, item A, that one's been pulled, right?
I'm pulling that recommendation.
That's right, that's been pulled. So we'll call the next one, item B, doesn't really matter. Interlocal cooperation contract with the General Land Office for purchase of natural gas. And that one will be the consent. All right, Mr. Lopez, if you'll help me out with that, please.
Sure, Mr. President, for the consent agenda, I move the board approve the following items by consent. Under learning considerations and purchases, item A. Under governance considerations, items A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Under financial services considerations and purchases, items A, B, and C. Under support services considerations and purchases, item B.
It's been moved. Need a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, right hand. Thank you very much. All right, so we will jump to H. Have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Mr. Lopez.
When I read this, Dr. Sconzo, I got the impression that the reason why we were expanding these classes was because there is greater, I guess, attrition in these classes. So we can expect more students to leave these classes in a regular classroom. And that's the logic behind this, correct?
That's correct, Mr. Lopez. And also, if I may, just the other factor is as you get into 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, you don't accept students new to the program. So for any students that we lose, they're not being replaced.
I was just making sure that was the case. My understanding was correct. I'm fine. That answered my question. I'm sorry.
Any other questions, trustees? None. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Right hand. Okay, good. And then we'll jump to item I. District and campus improvement plan goals and objectives for 2014-15. Ms. Conley. I'm sorry, do you have a motion?
Second.
And Mr. Scarfo, second that, please. Noted. Let's see. Ms. Conley, you had your hand up, and I believe Mr. Okay.
Just for clarification on the goal 2.1. We did some rewording there to ensure that positive school culture. But then it repeats kind of and says that a student center and staff members are positively engaged with students. We already said that it's a positive school culture, which should imply that they're positively engaged with students. Perhaps we want them to be actively engaged there. I mean, I would like to see the result of that, just maybe some instructional strategies where they're actively engaged with students. That was just a little thing. But on goal 4, I'm still not sure on 4.1 that our focus is on the communication. This is kind of measuring, I'm not sure how you measure effectiveness of engagement. Are we wanting to measure engagement, or we're wanting to measure our effective communication? Because the goal states that we will develop and promote positive internal and external relations through effective communication. So while I do want to develop and promote those relations, I want to make sure that we're not losing the focus on effective communication, simply because we've come a long way already this year towards that, but it plays a key role in that engagement. And through that, you get the participation in activities and projects. Does that make sense? So I was kind of looking more for increase the engagements of parents and community through effective communication. I just don't want us to lose the focus of, I just don't see a lot of reports and things come out through the campus improvement plans that are focused on these activities and projects and things, where the key is how are we communicating them? What kind of data are we presenting? The communication to me is the key there. Am I myself in that?
I'm gonna just sort of, on that specific. All right, so these we're talking about goals for next year, correct? These are 14, 15 goals.
That is correct.
So it seems early, well, I mean, I get we've got to sort of plan ahead, but there's some work that we do, right, as a board that helps determine what those are that quite hasn't taken place. So that's my one question. My second is just the work that we've brought sort of Daggett in to do, Studer to help evaluate our overall assessment and the sort of the narrowing down, if you will, of goals and objectives or focus areas, and then with Daggett how the data and the action items support each one of those goals. I mean, that's still an ongoing process, but yet we're already agreeing to 14, 15 goals. And I guess that's what my question is I don't have a comfort level because I haven't seen enough of the work that's being done, because I would assume, or I would expect that we're starting to make some changes for next year.
I was going to ask another question, but go ahead, Gavin.
Thank you. No, that's fine. Let me just try to get up to speed. So, first of all, on goal 2.1, I agree that repeating the word positive or positively isn't the best choice of words there, and I would substitute for the board's consideration, staff members are actively engaged with students instead of positively. On the goal 4, I would not. I feel pretty confident that we're not going to lose the focus on communication as being the emphasis of that area, simply because of how the goal is written. That's really going to drive the subpoints 1 and 2. So I don't think that creates any higher level of comfort, but I feel very confident, and I feel confident on the basis of staff discussions throughout this year on the goals and activities. And Mr. Rushing, your point is extraordinarily well taken. Because there's no one looking more forward to our collectively trying to become more focused and narrowed in our focus as a board, as a team of 8. However, we're at a place where we need to have the district and campus improvement plans begin development so that they are in place prior to the start of next school year, which then in turn puts us on a planning cycle that begins to drive budget development for 15-16. I'm making the assumption that in order to not stop that process or impede that timeline, that the goals the board adopted for this year would be multi-year until the board chooses to change them. And if the board were to, through our work, change them in a place prior to the start of next school year, it would be too late to change district and campus improvement plans. But I would only anticipate the change or changes being more of a focus. I can't imagine that we would not want to still pursue these overarching goals, areas. I'm trying to find the right label for them. So Gosh, that was a very long-winded way of saying, I agree with you. I'm on that same wavelength, but we also have to try and get our planning process on cycle. And to not do that would be then yet another, and I'm looking at some of the trustees who have sat at this table for a few years, to not do that would put us in a place where we've been for a number of years.
And Dr. Scott, to your point, and Mr. Rush, maybe that's not a great term, goal there, because I still see those things that are bolded as goals. It's more, I think you were alluding to it, more like a structure. Because I can't think any time when we would ever think that we'll, humble honesty, will attract, develop, retain world-class educators committed to serving each student. Of course we will. You know, that is always going to be, I think, part of our fiber now. We have sort of memorialized that by putting it in this. I would almost call it more mission statements than goals, but and I think with Mr. Rushing, I don't put words in your mouth, but we do need to get to, as we get into the detail of what those are going to be for this year, because it's always going to change, and we have a lot of data that we're going to be looking at, so that's a good thing. But I think this does give you the framework. I hope that's how you're looking at it, that it's not in stone, everything underneath that. So that's all I'll say on that. But let me just one micro point, because we had this exchange by email. I still think that verbiage that was requested, that you said someone on the board had asked to add that language to, I think it was 4.1. I think it kind of starts to mix the hows in there, and I don't know if that's, none of the other ones say that. And that one you're kind of saying, as I'll repeat it, that you're saying how to do it, and I don't know if you need to do that there, but it's fine by me, it stays that way. So I'll leave it at that. Mr. Rushing.
Yes, sir, Mr. Rushing.
Thank you, Dr. Sconzo. I think just from my perspective, though, that we're bringing in these folks, paying them money to help us, and I just think, and I'm not saying that necessarily well, I'm just making my expectations sort of clear. Again, I'm speaking only for myself, that I would expect change next year, because that's why they're here. I have a little heartburn thinking that we go another year after some of these folks have been engaged through this year, without seeing the fruits of some of that work hitting next school year, calendar year. So, I expect to see some change. I think we've got to view next year as a transition year, and I'm okay with it being called a transition year, but certainly not one that doesn't have any change associated with it. And I agree that maybe it comes down to how we word things, Mr. Scarfo, because I agree these are all important, but at the end of the day, you can still have a list of 25 things that are all important, and it becomes about choosing among the good. And at some point, you have to start choosing among the good, and that's what we've got to get focused on. So I'll leave it at that.
Mr. Sitton.
Just my observation of this, and kind of going with what you're talking about, Mr. Rushing, and you too, Mr. Scarfo. When the student group comes in, what they're going to look at is what are our 4 or 5 pillars, the things that we want to hang our hat on going forward, what's important to our culture and the rest of our group going forward. And we have them listed as goals, but to your point, Mr. Scarfo, we will always try to attract, develop, and retain world-class educators. That is a pillar to Humble ISD, if that's making sense. Now, the bullets underneath that is where we get into the change that you're talking about, Mr. Rushing. And the idea behind these groups, Studer especially, is to look at the evaluation, the data, and determine if the programs we have in place are helping us meet the needs of that particular pillar. So as a transitional year, if you will, as I know the student group's already spoken with the cabinet, is that correct? Not the full cabinet, okay. So they've already had some communication with you and some of your staff. And so I would imagine, or my expectation is some of that planning of terminology and looking at what our goal structure is and how they view it and their terminology of it and stuff is already taking place. And so now it's a matter of making sure that we're all on the same page with what's important as our legacy, if you will, moving forward for decades to come. Because I think that's what we really have decided to spend money on, to determine that we're on the right track, and then turning the ball over to you guys to make sure that you have the right programs in place, the right processes in place that's going to, in the end, develop the strong student that we're used to developing, only going from good to great. And that may be winded, but that's kind of to bring both of y'all together. I think we're all on the same page, and that's my interpretation of what we're looking for going forward.
Thanks, sir. Any other comments before we vote? Mr. Lopez?
The issue that we've had, this is probably going on year 5 with the district improvement plans, is that they've been cookie cutter and ineffective and not really used for anything in practice. The idea that we had 2 years ago was to start making these plans actually be effective. And last year, they were still cookie cutter, at least what I read. You know, these goals are fantastic and great, whatever they are. The key to the evaluation of these is in the implementation and whether or not we actually do have plans that are school specific and actually, instead of being check the box, write something down and then put it on a shelf until the next year, is something that we're going to see if it happens or not. That's part of the superintendent's evaluation this year. That's part of what the board is going to look at this year, and we'll see if it's done. That's why I want to make sure that when these plans are done, let the schools know the board's going to review this, and then we can see if the goals of the board set are met. Campus improvement plans are critical to this district, and whether or not the district's going to improve or not, I think, personally. And we'll see. These goals are fine. The only one that I think I would have a problem with is the goal number 5. The 3 things below that goal don't carry out. There's really nothing in there about accountability, which needs to be in there. But I think the goal itself covers what we need to cover. But you know, once these improvement plans are done, I of course want to get copies of several of them so we can review. I think all the board members will. But I hope that the plans that are produced are not as what has been produced for the last 5 or so years that have been produced in this district. So those are my comments. Yes, they're critical, but they're accurate. Thank you.
Anything else? Yes, sir.
Just a matter of process, I guess. I mean, is it something that, I mean, it's here for action today. I mean, knowing all this is going on, is there not a way to understand it's a transition year and get further through this process before we're staking a claim that these are it? Or are we just going to vote to amend it at some future date?
What will change out of these goals?
Well, I don't know. I mean, that's why I look forward to the work, coming out of the work that's going to be done. I have no idea what can change.
Aren't these goals everything that we want to happen in the district in a general level?
I see it as instruction frameworks. Yes, just to sit and use the student groups terminology, the pillars. And I don't see, we may add to them, and maybe at some point we change them, but I'll tell you, I'm in my lifetime, I expect to see you might want to get world-class teachers and employees, I mean, things like that.
Operations are effective, efficient, and accountable.
Yeah, I mean, but we'll be able to change them as far as the detail goes, because you're going to look at those, Mr. Rushing, all of us, I hope so. And I'll never forget that time. It was a few years back when
3 schools with the same exact plan, word for word.
And stupid me, being fairly new to the board, I actually took them all out and was looking at it, comparing them. And I actually had, at the time, there was a cabinet member who just looked at me and said, really? Why are you looking at those? You're just supposed to raise your hand and vote yes. And that was kind of the culture that existed. And I don't think it exists today. I believe it doesn't exist today, so that's a good thing. So yeah, I think we'll have time, but I think it helps give them the structure to start with. So that you see, that's another reason I think it's okay to move forward. Because you're right, Mr. Rushing, the details aren't there yet, because it's going to get driven by the data that you see. I hope so.
The key to the plans is exactly the term of what they are. They're campus improvement plans. They're plans for each specific campus and what those campuses need to do to improve where they're weak. And the data is going to be data-driven determination, I hope, and it's going to help with the student group, with the administration going to those campuses, figuring it out. Moreover, it's the hope that once that improvement plan is there, the effectiveness and whether or not the campus leadership is doing their job is going to be determined whether or not they're following the campus improvement plan that was developed through this process, through the assistant soups in developing these plans. And so it's basically it's the roadmap for which the campus administrators need to follow every year to make sure that they're doing their jobs. Until we have campus improvement plans that do that, instead of talk about, gee, we'll make sure that everybody holds hands and sings Kumbaya. Yeah, doesn't, that everyone says no to drugs, and that we have, whatever these are, or generalized, non-specific, boilerplate's the key, language, then that will be useful. And so that's the key, and that's what we've been harping on for the last 3 or so years. We had it last year, it really wasn't followed through with, and so we're hoping this year we see something that is campus specific. And we don't need Studer for that. What we need is we need people to sit down and think about what's wrong with each campus, or what can be improved upon in each campus, triage that, and put it in a campus improvement plan, and then judge next year whether or not those things were followed through with through an evaluation process.
Mr. Sid.
Yeah, my final comment on this, I think to kind of sum it up, what we're voting on tonight is the why we do what we do. The campus improvement plans is the how. Does that make sense? So we're really putting into place the vision going forward that we as a group of 8 want to see happen. And each individual building or facility then has their plan of how they're going to achieve that based on their experiences with their kids, etc. And then that's how they'll be evaluated moving forward.
Ms. Conrad.
Just to bring it all full circle.
No, he just summarized.
No.
You're bringing it full circle.
I'm bringing it full
Okay.
circle.
All right.
These are all focused on soil. And that's the deal.
Very good. Lady Conrad, thank you. Yes.
If I could just.
You're only the superintendent, why not?
Well, no, I just want to temper one thing, because I'm encouraged about the discussions and the planning that has happened to date as it relates to district improvement plan and campus improvement plans. And this doesn't reference it, but department improvement plans as well are part of the expectation going into next year. So the first thing I want to say is, from a practical standpoint, as a team of 8, it's going to be June when we really begin our work. So, and I suspect there'll be multiple meetings. So we're going to get far into the summer, and that's my timing dilemma. Secondly, I think I know the message has been heard loud and clear. I just want the board to please remember that there are parts of campus improvement plans that are TEA mandated. And my approach to those mandates is indeed cookie cutter. Because I don't want to spend, campuses to spend a lot of time on compliance things. I want them to spend their planning time on what their unique needs are and how they're going to pursue meeting those needs. So I I'll go out and say that you're gonna see differences among all of them, but you're gonna see some cookie cutters.
You have a question?
I have, on goal 2 on the learning superintendent agreement, which you want to
Yes, for positively. Positive.
Actively. That's it? Okay. You ready to vote? Yep. All right, so moved and seconded, right? Yep. And all in favor, right hand? And very good, thank you. All right, I think that's all our items. Now we have future board business. If I'm not mistaken, any future board business we want to, financial report is not on here. Financial report. And then,
Just our monthly, it's
okay.
included, and we're happy to respond to any questions trustees have, not only this evening, but subsequent.
Great. Now we'll go to future board business. Any future board business we want to discuss now? Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.